we also were gifted with something that no one really wanted, but when cringe is given, you accept it freely, like you just, otherwise, it's just bad vibes. You have to absorb some of the weird energy that the universe gives you. So you and I both watched, Vanity Fair's, the first installment of their Directors on Directors series, involving, filmmaker and playwright Martin McDonagh and Taylor Swift, noted filmmaker. This was, there was just a cavalcade of red flags flying when I see the headline that this is a thing, but actually watching it was so tragic. What the fuck were they thinking? She directs one music video and then you can put her in the same chair as a guy like that? It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, this is strange because so they do this every year, but normally it's like a round table. It's not like a one-on-one thing.
Yeah.
And this year they changed it to that format. And you look at the other episodes that are going to come out. We have James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez, Ryan Coogler and Gina Prince Bythewood, the director of Till and Tyler Perry, Sarah Polley and Francis Ford Coppola. So, all those make sense in some way. It's like you have James Cameron, a guy known for his digital amazing effects, and Robert Rodriguez, a guy known for like his very, very, cheap, practically done effects. And you have them talking to each other. That makes sense. You have two, Ryan Coogler and Gina Prince Bythewood, two black filmmakers
making action movies,
action movies. All these pairings make sense except for this one. And I don't know, this just seems to me like a case of like, they had announced 2 weeks ago. This was all very, very well planned out by her managers, because it was announced before this episode was announced that Taylor Swift is making her feature directorial debut with Searchlight Pictures, the Disney former Fox company. And then a week later, this gets announced, and it's, the internet goes crazy. People are saying this is bullshit, blah blah blah. This shouldn't be happening. Why is the now 8-time Golden Globe nominated Martin McDonagh being interviewed by Taylor Swift, and then now the episode actually came out, and like you said, it's incredibly cringe, and it's just very like, I mean, she sort of holds her own as best she can. You can tell that she's very used to public speaking. She's very used to like putting up those walls and just kind of giving a very surface level impression of herself, and it's just, this conversation is way more surface level than it needed to be. It's really bland. It's mostly boring. But then there's parts where, you can tell that it's like she doesn't know what she's talking about. There's a part where she says like, oh, Martin, like, you're from the theater, right? And what about all those theatrical productions you directed? And Martin McDonagh is literally like, I didn't direct any of my plays. I only wrote them. Yeah. You have no idea what you're talking about. And it's, I don't know, it's just weird. And yeah. I mean, he's being nice. I'll give him that. He's being nice. He's being cordial. But there are parts, you have a picture of it there where he's like touching his ear.
Yeah.
And they're like parts of this where he's just sitting there and like playing with his ear, like playing with his, you can tell he's really, really bored,
And see, that's the problem with taking two individuals like this as opposed to the round tables. Because on a round table, everybody gets their time to hold the baton, as it were. And you there's a lot more time to spend sitting back and listening, and it's not on you to hold the conversation the entire time. So like, she probably could have skated a lot better, as a conversationalist, where other people more aware and knowledgeable than her could fill in the gaps and let them let her stand on their shoulders a little bit, and that's usually when. That's a better product in general than whatever this series is going to be, because this is going to be two people being overly complimentary to each other, because when you have like 4 or 5 people on a table, there's at least room for someone to be like, oh, I don't really care for you or your work, or, you know, like, I'm not really too impressed with you. You know, like, there's like the elitism gets to come out. But if it's one-on-one, you have to be polite. And the competitiveness that can come out in these, you know, certain, you know, like when you get, you know, egos like that together. I don't know. It's unfortunate that they're going away from that, because I looked forward to consuming all of this content, you know, towards, you know, the end of the year during award season. And yeah, whatever, like, maybe it was a COVID protocol thing, that it's just easier to do it between 2 people and to like coordinate the testing for all of those people and so on. Because at least in Hollywood, they are still hyper vigilant about it, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably right on that. And I mean, luckily, I think the Hollywood Reporter does stuff like this too. And I think as far as they're concerned, they're still going to do a round table this year, but writer roundtable, director roundtable, and actor roundtable. So, but yeah, I mean, this is very strange, because clearly Taylor Swift decided like one day, like, I want to be a director now. That's what I want to, that's like my next adventure in life, I guess. And I have the resources and the money to do so. So that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, I'm all for people trying to reinvent themselves. And, you know, this kind of reminds me of like the trajectory of, do you remember when like Justin Timberlake had like his like weird, like, art resurgence, where he went from like in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, he went from like the boy band, you know, in sync guy to actually making like good music.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 2020 Experience was his first album, like solo album, where people were like, oh my God, this is actually pretty good. Like, this isn't just like shitty throwaway top 40 pop music. And this is what this reminds me of, where it's like, she wants to be taken more seriously. And I don't know if she wants to do that, go ahead. But I don't know if what she's going to produce is going to net out for her in that way.
Yeah, it's like she has the patter down. You know, she can talk like she's one of these people. You know, like she can fake it. And she has enough, you know, like momentum that she can probably make it to a degree. But yeah, nothing that is that the Swifties will, you know, blow it up into. Because, God damn it, as soon as she like makes a movie and there's, you know, going to be like any, you know, like award whose outcome can be influenced by that, you know, gang of hooligans, we are, you know, bound to just see her running home with all the Oscar like fan votes in the future, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, if they ever have like a fan favorite filmmaker award, is this going to go to Taylor Swift every year? Like, Spielberg doesn't even have a chance of winning against her, you know, regardless what movie he's putting out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. She'll definitely be popular. I mean, I don't know if you've seen her short film that she made for the music video, the one that they talk about in this with Dylan O'Brien and Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. But I don't know, it's like incredibly melodramatic, and it's just like a couple having a fight for like 11 minutes. And
yeah,
I don't know, it's just like you're trying to do something that you don't have like the artistic know-how to do, or like you don't have the gumption to do it. Sorry, Taylor.
Yeah, like you spent a lot of time on music video sets with your, like, I think it was a Joseph Kahn or something like that. Like, she had this video guy who was her guy, and his looks were very distinctive, and you know, he was I don't know, like, I don't think he's ever going to be anything more than Taylor Swift's video director. You know, he's not going to be making feature-length films anytime soon. And that is who she learned everything from. So any movie she makes is just going to feel like a music video. You know, there's a reason why Madonna didn't become a director either. You know what I mean? You know, she could barely act. And Taylor Swift hasn't even tried to do that.
Oh, no, she has.
I guess that's true. I just saw her in a movie this year.
Amsterdam, and
yeah,
she's also in that, like,
Cats.
I don't know, just
she was in Cats.
Yeah, Cats. She was in. There's this movie called like Valentine's Day, which is just
Oh,
it's just a rom com from a couple years ago, and
had
so
no
yeah,
idea.
she has tried to do the actor thing to sort of mixed results. I guess the director kind of has to know how to use her, and in that respect, she gets hit by a car, and that's how you use her as an actress. So
Yes, and I was just gonna say that is like my favorite memory from Amsterdam was seeing her get run over and just
yeah.
unceremoniously removed from the film. Ah, thank you for reminding me of that because you can watch Amsterdam on HBO Max.
Yep.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is we'll see how this pans out for her
yeah.
because the movie's apparently coming out next year. We don't know anything else about it, but we will see.
What if she makes like the most A24 movie, like that's ever been made, and just takes everything that company worked for? I think that's the aesthetic she needs to inhabit. Be more Ari Aster, like that's what I encourage her to do if she's going to listen to me. Some people who definitely don't listen to either of us, Matt, is the Hollywood Foreign Press. They just put out their list of nominees because they desperately want us to care. Should we, based on what they've given us?
Well, the Golden Globes, they've always been sort of the drunk uncle to the Oscars, and yeah, I don't know. This doesn't really. I mean, there's stuff here that I'm certainly pulling for, like Severance, of course.
Naturally.
Any of the Breaking Bad stuff. But I'm surprised at how much of this stuff I look at. Like I look at the 5 things that are nominated. Banshees, of course, I'm pulling for too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I look at the stuff that's nominated and I'm just like, I don't give a shit about any of these. Like for instance, like the motion picture comedy nominees, I'm just like, I could care less. And the best actress nominees, I'm just like, okay, these are all fine, I guess, but I look at these and I think, I think 2022 was overall a good year for films and the type of films that I like to watch. But for the type of films that get nominated for Golden Globe Awards, I'm like, this has been a really shitty year, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Because I was thinking on that same question too. Because I was trying to consider, okay, what are my top 10 movies for the year? Trying to get some grounding on that question before we you'll reach 2023. But yeah, like the stuff that I guess I personally am enthusiastic about, there's plenty of it. But like you pointed out, there's just this sort of like rote like approach to like what is going to settle out as like the quote unquote best of the year in any category. I was trying to figure out what to attribute that to, because like is it just that the releases are fewer and far between, or like our friend Andrew Dominique pointed out, we are in a conservative era of bedtime stories, and people are looking for comfort, or at least like there's not a lot of transgressive picks. Like we don't have a Titane like teasing us with the idea that it could maybe have some success. They're going for everything that was expected to be there, basically. But I am annoyed with how they divvy up comedy, drama, and like all that stuff. Like I hate that they even bothered to make a distinction, because it's when you look at who gets nominated for best director, it's like the Daniels are there. The fact that they are up for best director blows my fucking mind. Those guys should not, like, I'm happy that they're there, but they should not be there. And you know what? I think they would feel the same way. Like like I guess they are the lone transgressive, like subversive piece of art that has hit in the mainstream in any significant way. But what would it mean if they would have success?
Oh God, I don't even want to think about that. That would these are the guys who they're such weirdos and they've made such strange movies, and I get the feeling they probably don't really care about this all that much. But these are like the type of guys that I could totally see being like roped in by like Marvel or something. Like Marvel being like, "Hey, come over here and do do this C-list movie, the C-list hero. Like I could totally see the Daniels getting roped into like a God, I don't even know, like a multiple man movie or something like that, something strange like that, you know?
Or like they finally are the people to bring a Squirrel Girl. Give the people really what they want. That would really fucking disappoint me because you need the weirdos in their corner. There's a reason why David Lynch made Dune instead of Star Wars. Even though he regrets it. But yeah, ever since that moment, he just never left his little wheelhouse. And as soon as you pluck dudes like that and put them into the the company job, like the corporate township job that they have going on in Disney, where you're just signed up for life to make really lame movies like Thor Love and Thunder, like whatever magic you have as an individual filmmaker dies as soon as you get into the program. So you sign up for the money and like the security that it brings you, but everything gets sucked out of you. But that's a segue for another conversation. Inisherin led with nominations.
Yes,
but
deservedly in my opinion.
Did anything really surprise you, I guess?
Oh, surprises, yeah. So, okay, no Yellow Jackets. That sucks. The sort of resilience of Elvis is very strange to me because that was a June movie, and usually you don't see these types of movies hang on for that long.
It's a Baz Luhrmann movie. Like it's yet another like musical biopic that I poo-pooed and said had no staying power. And now I'm seeing article after article about how the lead actor in that movie like immersed himself for 3 years and like didn't talk to his family because he was he was so invested in this role. Are they gonna give that fucker an Oscar? Is he gonna win a Golden Globe?
I could see it. Yeah. I could see it because he has. I mean, he has everything working for him. He's. This is like one of the only things he's known for as of right now. He is playing a very iconic person that usually works well for people, and he has all these stories behind him in the press that are kind of giving him that boost. Like like you said, he immersed himself. Apparently his audition for Baz Luhrmann lasted like 7 months. Like he just kept having him come back in and being like, okay, I need you to do this for me now, or like audition in this way. And so he has all these stories behind him that are getting a lot of press. And so I think he probably will, honestly.
Yeah, no, his street team is doing excellent work for him. His agency is making it happen. God, good for him though.
And the only other person that I think has a chance in that category is Brendan Fraser, and he is not going to get it because he is boycotting the Globes. I don't know if you heard anything about this, but he is boycotting them, and he's had plenty to say about them. And the guy who like fondled him at a restaurant is part of the Globes, so. I don't think he's gonna win. They're not gonna. He won't even be there. He won't even accept the award.
Exactly.
So
they're not gonna give it to someone who's gonna piss in their face when they try and hand him something. But like Mama didn't raise no hypocrite, as he says. Mm-hmm. But there were some stunt nominations though. Yeah. Some stuff that was really just done to be like, hey, normal people care about our show.
Yeah, Top Gun and. What was the other one? Avatar.
Avatar, yeah. Because I guess we'll get into that. Well, I guess we'll get into that. There's a lot to say about that, but because it's there because the Avatar, the original, did win the Golden Globe for Best Picture. It did. It was and Cameron won Best Director. The Golden Globe of that time signaled that Avatar was going to clean out the Oscars. Before the Hurt Locker got all the traction and started greasing the hands of all of the other. November.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's clearly like a stunt to get more people to watch. Maverick was one of the most popular movies of this year, but I think it's clearly a stunt. As is Wednesday being nominated for all its nominations. I mean. That's I
didn't include everything in the video, so that's up for like a TV series.
Yeah, and Jenna Ortega for the lead
Really?
role. Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
under,
that's what I said.
Is it under the comedy category?
I think so.
That makes more sense.
Best
then.
actress comedy, and
Yeah, because
that's I don't know. That's because apparently I don't know. I haven't watched Wednesday. I don't really know how good or bad it is, but its popularity is so inexplicable to me because apparently it's now Netflix's like second most watched series of all time, and I'm just like, what?
like only
You know,
Squid Game is higher.
something like that. Yeah,
What
yeah,
the
Squid
fuck?
Game or something else, but it's so strange because I don't know. It just seems like a CW show to me.
That's
but,
exactly what I was going to say. It's like it is Tim Burton, working within the CW, like production value and aesthetics, which is perfect for him. So, and I think it is just they're just trying to get eyeballs. They need those teen girls. They need the key demographic, whatever it is these days. And yeah, because I made it through like 3 episodes of Wednesday, but it's nothing
Okay.
wrote home about. I didn't even talk about it on the show, because it just there was nothing much to say, and I didn't get too far in it. And right now, the only hip thing to say about Wednesday is that Tim Burton is racist because a lot of the antagonists, like the antagonists that eventually become your friends, antagonists are people of color. So that's all that I'm really hearing about Wednesday, apart from the choreography being cool. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, speaking of controversies, so the big controversy with the Globes this year, because it always seems like every year nominees get announced, and then people on the internet, they pick through all the nominees to say, okay, what am I going to be pissed about this year? What am I going to be offended by? And this year, the big controversy is every Best Director nominee is male.
very shocking.
And there are no women. And I don't know, for some reason, this is the second time we'll be talking about her, but this Gina Prince Bythewood, who did The Woman King, is getting a lot of like support as the person who should have been nominated. And I'm not so sure about that. Haven't seen The Woman King, but I don't know. It's another thing where I'm just like, really?
I think
is there?
Yeah, sorry, you talk.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is there anyone that a woman director from this year that you would say deserved to be nominated, or do you think that they got it pretty right?
Well,
who they did nominate?
What about? I can't recall her name, but it's the lady who did Petite Maman, and she did Portrait of a Lady on Fire as well, right? That's the same filmmaker. Yeah,
Celine Sciamma.
Yeah, why wasn't that part of the conversation? That movie kind of did just fall off of the I guess like the American cinema landscape, but as far as like work that was deserving, that's one thing I can think of. But yeah, I'm blanking.
I think that movie got kind of screwed by its release schedule, because I think it was released in Europe last year, and then it was released in New York and LA at the beginning of this year, and then we didn't finally people who don't live in New York and LA didn't get to see it until like June or whenever that was. And so it's kind of up in the air if that even was a 2022 movie.
That's
I don't,
fair. Yeah.
So, but I think the one that kind of strikes me is Sarah Polley.
For Women Talking.
Women Talking. And that's the one that probably should have gone on there. Again, another movie that neither of us have seen yet, but from what I've heard, it's very good, and she's really like burgeoning as a director, former actress. But that's probably the one that should have been on there, if anything, especially in place of some of like the really strange. There was one on there that was really strange to me. I can't think of it now, but.
On which category? For director?
Director, yeah.
Let me see. We'll see if it'll pop up here in a second.
But yeah, it is. I think it's mostly manufactured. Like the outrage about this, it's whatever. And there it is. Okay, so I mean,
Baz Luhrmann. That motherfucker don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
He just psychologically abused a twink for like 3 years. They're gonna give him a golden statue for it? I don't think so.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to win. And so yeah, that's probably the one that should be swapped out for Sarah Polley or something. But yeah, I'm not too up in arms about it. I don't really care.
What is The Inspection? Because that's one of the best actor nominations.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
Because that was like one of the only movies I hadn't. Oh, I did hear about this movie. Okay, it's about a young gay black man who tries to join the military.
Oh yeah, the war movie.
The war movie.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got Bokeem Woodbine in it.
That's right.
Yeah,
he's like the drill sergeant. Yeah, I did see the preview for that before a couple of movies I went to. But
okay, I'm glad I looked further because I saw it on the list and I was like, what the fuck is that?
So I guess the big question and kind of the way that I wanted to close this topic before we move on to other things was before the show actually premieres in January. This is their year. They're coming back to TV. They were given a slap on the wrist by NBC last year. It wasn't televised, and they said, don't be so corrupt. Don't be a charitable organization when you're not a charitable organization. They lost their status. And so because they were doing some pretty shady shit, I think. And on top of that, NBC was like, you need more people in your organization. You need more diverse people. So they added 21 new journalists, and they made their organization roughly like 20% bigger than it was. It's at about 100 people now.
Okay.
Rather than 80. So the big question is, like the Sight and Sound poll that we talked about last week, adding those 20 people, is that going to have a noticeable effect on the winners, do you think?
Honestly, I think if Sight and Sound has taught us anything, it probably will. It's like I don't really see apart from like the Woman King or something like that. Like I can't see them supporting anything too egregious, as far as like what's up there. But something kooky could definitely happen in the future, especially if they keep adding people. Because if they get good feedback, about what their changes have done, they're probably just going to overcorrect in whatever that direction is. Because it more than likely the pool of old white faces is going to change drastically. The there's going to be a little bit more spice in the soup, so maybe it will be worth turning into if they're going to deliver results that aren't just boring and expected. But I think the only thing that would make me actually sit down and watch this is if they get my boy Ricky Gervais out of retirement so he can just flamethrower everyone as per usual. That's really the only thing I would tune in for. Because these things lost their novelty for me a long time ago. When reaction GIFs were first a thing, children. That's how long ago it was. But that was the best part. Like there was a certain like kind of edginess to the Globes when people would get drunk and then they'd say something they probably shouldn't have or something like that, and that's kind of been sanded down now. But yeah, like the gifs of like Christian Bale at the Globes, or the one where Lady Gaga like bumps into Leonardo DiCaprio and he's just like looks at her like afraid. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but it's so funny. And but yeah, I mean, I think as far as these new journalists go, I think Everything Everywhere is gonna win a bunch of shit, and it's gonna take everyone. It's gonna take everyone by surprise because that movie has a like international appeal, I think, and that's who these people are. They're the Hollywood foreign press. So that's gonna win a bunch of shit, and I think it's gonna upset a lot of the Banshees of Inisherin stuff. Yeah,
and then I could see Angela Bassett getting the win because she, and then Abbott Elementary, of course, because Abbott Elementary is one of those shows that
is just so inexplicably popular.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, from what I've heard, it's literally just like The Office, but in an elementary school, and with more like they jacked up the like political relevance or like the social issues on it, where they it's funny, but then it's also important.
God, like, I wrote a column on that topic, and we can blame all of that on Jon Stewart, and the Daily Show from back in the day. But I'll save that topic for another time. I just want to take one last moment before we move on to dance on the grave of the Rings of Power, because the real high fantasy show that won out the nominations was, of course, Hot D. House of the Dragon reigns supreme. Game of Thrones has got its mojo back, and Amazon is just spinning its fucking wheels, hiring all-female directors and writing teams for the next season, because that's going to fucking fix it. And they believe in what they're doing with this billion-dollar property that they bought to such a degree that they're grabbing the leftovers from Warner Brothers so they can make a Warhammer show.
Yeah,
I just have to marvel at that, to bring it full circle.